The sun had barely risen when the panic began, an urgent, breathless storm inside a glass tower built on power and perfection. At exactly 8:03 a.m., billionaire tech entrepreneur Serafina Vale stood frozen in her office, staring at a screen overflowing with unreadable lines of corrupted code. A multi-million-dollar project, one she had promised investors, employees, and even her young son would change lives, was about to collapse. Her team couldn't decipher the legacy code base. The hired experts failed. The deadline was in less than 24 hours. And for the first time in years, she felt helpless. What no one knew, not her staff, not her board, not the world that admired her brilliance, was that Serafina hadn't been able to focus since her father's passing 2 months earlier. He had been her guide, her compass, her quiet mentor in everything, especially in programming. Now, his desk remained untouched in her office corner, sunlight dusting over it like a memory she could never reach again. If you believe in kindness, unexpected heroes, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grandma's Book. It truly helps stories like this find more hearts. Serafina stood there, trembling despite the bright daytime glow flooding her office windows. Every piece of code on the screen looked wrong, alien, scrambled. She typed, erased, tried again, but grief blurred everything. She bit down on her lip to hold back frustration until she tasted faint copper. In the hallway outside, footsteps echoed, regular, calm, slow. They came every morning at the same time. She had noticed them for months but never paid attention. Today, the sound felt strangely grounding. The door behind her opened just enough for a gentle knock to follow. She turned sharply, expecting another nervous employee with more bad news. Instead, she found Morris Devlin, the building's janitor, holding a mop with one hand and a small plastic bag of tools with the other. He was in his late 50s, with warm brown skin, slightly grayed hair, and a soft-mannered posture that always seemed apologetic. He blinked, startled to see her distress so clearly. "I'm sorry, Ms. Vale," he said carefully, avoiding eye contact out of habit. "The hallway floors need an early cleaning today. I can return later." She waved a hand weakly, trying to compose herself. "It's fine. I just have a problem." She didn't know why she said it. Maybe because he was the only calm presence in a building filled with frantic experts. Morris lingered at the door, hesitating. As he shifted, his eyes accidentally caught the screen behind her. Something flickered across his expression. Recognition? Curiosity? She wasn't sure. Then he said something that would shift her world entirely. "Ma'am, that code on the screen, it's written in an older structure. I used to work with something similar." Serafina froze. A janitor recognizing a code format her top engineers couldn't? She stepped aside, almost in disbelief. Morris slowly entered, placing his tools quietly on the floor as though afraid to disturb the air. He wiped his hands on his uniform and leaned toward the monitor. The morning light revealed tiny scars on his knuckles, signs of someone who had spent years working with machines, devices, hardware. Someone who had lived a very different past before pushing a janitor's cart. In a low voice, he explained that decades ago he was a systems architect at a now-defunct tech company. A bad merger, a hospital bill, a series of losses. He had fallen out of the industry and into jobs that paid the bills but never matched his old life. He never told anyone because people rarely asked. Serafina listened quietly, stunned by the gentle humility in his tone. Then, with surprising confidence, he pointed out the corrupted sequences and began analyzing how the original programmer, whoever they were, must have thought. His hands moved over the keyboard slowly at first, then with growing certainty. As he worked, Serafina watched the impossible happen. The broken lines began to align, the missing structure rebuilt itself, and the project's engine regained shape. Her chest tightened, not just in relief, but in awe. How many extraordinary people walked through her building unseen, unheard, unrecognized? Morris didn't ask for applause or praise, he simply kept going because someone needed help. Hours passed under the warm daytime light, and for the first time in weeks, Serafina felt her father's absence lift slightly. Morris worked with the same quiet focus her father once had. Something about his patience, his resilience, his gentle understanding reminded her of the wisdom she had lost. By noon, they reached the final error. When Morris pressed run, the entire framework stabilized. The project worked. The impossible became reality. Tears gathered in Serafina's eyes, not just from relief, but from gratitude that came from deep inside the cracks of her grief. She turned toward him, her voice breaking. She told him he had saved not just the project, but a part of her she feared was gone forever. Morris simply smiled, lifting his mop again. Sometimes, he said softly, all people need is someone to see them. Word spread through the company, but Serafina insisted on telling the truth herself. She brought Morris into the main hall, standing beside him as employees gathered. With sunlight filling the space, she introduced him not as a janitor, but as the man whose brilliance and kindness saved their future. The team applauded, some with tears in their eyes. Morris lowered his head, overwhelmed. Serafina offered him not a favor, but a position, an opportunity to return to the field he loved. He accepted with trembling hands.